Hey folks, Joe Valley here from the Quiet Life Podcast. Thanks again for joining us for another episode. Today we're going to talk about cash back money. Lots of different ways to increase your bottom line with Chase Harmer, the CEO of ProfitPay. Chase, welcome to the Quiet Life Podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Look forward to the conversation.
Good to have you here. You're out in Reno, right?
Reno, Nevada. Yeah, just lifelong from California and migrated over here last April.
Right. Our our oldest advisor in terms of tenure, because I'm actually the oldest guy on the team, is from Reno as well. So Jason, if you're listening, because I know you just love hearing my voice every day, if you're listening, look this guy up. He's in your neighborhood. All right, Chase, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of ProfitPay and what you do for a living?
Sure, yeah. So I started as an entrepreneur at 19 in the payment processing business back when credit cards was kind of still fairly new, and grew that into a pretty massive portfolio. Started building technology in 2014, became a card issuer and gateway and a fraud prevention provider all in one platform. This allowed us to create opportunities for merchants to create cash back on transactions and really kind of be the whole economy of a transaction, be able to pay the supplier, create cash back on that transaction, whatever that supplier may be, whether that's marketing, tan bark or a playground set, you know what I mean? You can create cash back on all these items and you can automate that, one to many. I feel like that's the value that our platform's been able to create, is paying vendors in real time, and creating cash back on all those transactions.
So you just said suppliers. So we are talking about anybody that owns an e-commerce business where they're buying physical products.
Sure.
That they can buy that inventory. What if they? Yeah. What if that manufacturer is over in China and normally requires a wire or something like that? Is that something that your services can help with?
We do, actually. So we do actually automate the back-end process, both in the US and internationally. So you can pay to a bank account if you have to, but you can create cards on all the other suppliers. Most suppliers nowadays will take credit cards, and we can facilitate that process so it's automated. And each vendor will have their own card that's associated with it. So like if you close out a vendor, you don't have to close, or you lose a credit card, you don't have to you don't have to call 80 more people to, if you're a large business or a small business that has lots of those.
We're jumping right into the weeds here. So is this a vendor that, a card that's specific to that vendor only? And when they need $25,000 as a deposit for the order that you just placed, they're using the card that you have given them?
You can do it both ways. We do credit as well as debit, is commercial debit. You can prepay it. It can be lines of credit, but you can utilize it for one supplier, or you can individualize your suppliers, and actually just create cards for each supplier. We do that automatically through a CSV file upload.
Okay.
So we do the back.
And in this situation, there's a cashback savings to the product owner, where they're going to be saving upwards of how much? What percent?
They're creating up to 2% cash back on every transaction, right? So every supplier payment that they do, whether that's the media, advertising, or the Tamberg example, they're actually creating real revenue on those transactions. And it also gives you the flexibility to be able to mitigate those transactions. When you push money directly into someone's account through wire or ACH, a lot of times that's a done deal, and you might not get the product or service that you were entitled to. So I think it also gives you security. You have the ability to pull back funds or close out cards. Discontinue monthly payments. Let's say that you are using a new vendor, and they're wrapping you in a 12-month contract, but after 2 months you realize that it's no good. Well, with a virtual card, not only are you creating cash back on those transactions, but you're avoiding the whole conversation with the bank. You can just close out that card.
So instead of calling American Express, I'm using a virtual card. We're going all over the place, folks. I'm so sorry. Let me just state that on that $100,000 a month, you're saving 2% or $2,000 a month times 12, $24,000. You sell your business for a 4-time multiple. You just put almost $100,000 into your bank account on top of the 24 when you sold your business. For those that have not heard me say it, I don't know, 5,000 times already, cashback monies and reward points converted to cash, at least on paper, is an add back. And I say this because I was at a boot camp. I won't say which one. I'm sitting around a fire pit. These are the best parts of these things when you're sitting around fire pits, Chase, just hanging out with entrepreneurs. And a business owner told me that he was, the numbers were huge, but his cashback money was about $50,000 a month in cashback. And he's doing something, what he called credit card stacking. First time I'd heard of that. But he didn't realize that cashback monies were an add back when he goes to sell his business. So in this case, he's adding $600,000 to the bottom line through an add back schedule. His business was worth maybe 8 times. So he's adding almost $5 million to the list price of his business. So little tangent there, but for folks that don't understand the add backs, even though I've mentioned it 5,000 times, now you get it a little bit better. And in this case, instead of sending wires, Chase, you're creating a virtual card for the manufacturer to use, and you're making payments to them, as opposed to, in my case, I'd just be using my American Express, and then I got to deal with American Express to pull that money back or do a chargeback. Is that right?
Correct. Exactly. You can just close out the card and the transaction's over. You know what I mean? Like they can't continue to build. So like if you can't continue to build, then you're not out the cash. You know, is when you mentioned credit card stacking as well, with our media use case, we do what's called connect and collect. And that allows people to use their Amex, like in your example, where you're getting rewards, 2 cents on the dollar. You continue to get those rewards for whatever your agreement is with American Express. But we give you cash back on top of that. So we connect your funding source to outside virtual cards, right? So you can fund your virtual cards with your actual card, which means that you get credit for your 2 cents of spend or whatever on Amex, but then you're actually adding additional cash back onto the cash back you're already getting.
Well, then I can also convert my cash back, my rewards on American Express to cash at 1%.
You could, yeah, you could, right? Exactly.
Okay, folks. This is getting really interesting at this point. All right. So ProfitPay, when did you found ProfitPay? You're the CEO, I assume, right? Were you the original founder of ProfitPay?
Yeah. So I founded another company. We merged into ProfitPay probably in last June. But we, I founded ProfitPay in 2014, really, and been building technology for the last compliance for the last 6-7 years.
Okay. And you'd compare yourself to, a version of Stripe or something like that, just for clarification?
Yeah. So we essentially are not the 800-pound gorilla that Stripe is, but we certainly are a very fierce competitor. We have better terms, better rates, and we can do almost everything that they can do. So Stripe Connect can issue ghost accounts. You can create lots of different marketplace opportunities. We can do all that, but we also are a virtual card issuer. I think the biggest difference between us and Stripe charges you 1.5% to use their cards. We actually give you 2% back. It's a completely different model. So like we actually give cash back, whereas Stripe actually charges you to use those spends. So if you spend money marketing, you're going to pay 1.5% to Stripe to do that.
Do you think most e-commerce entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general that use cards to buy products and services, whether it's advertising or working with vendors and things of that nature, that they use, the virtual card from Stripe or from you, or do they just simply use their Chase card or their Amex card and things of that nature to figure out which one they think they're getting the most cash back on?
Yeah, and you'd be surprised that actually most small business owners will use their debit card. So to buy their ads is buy traffic. The problem with that is that you get zero value from that. Like there's literally zero. So there's the Durbin Amendment, which only benefited the banks ultimately, doesn't give any consumer or business an advantage to buy ads or supplier payments that way. You get no value. So I think utilize, if you're using a debit card today or your bank account card to make those purchases because you don't want to go in debt or you don't want to create debt for your business, maybe then this is also a way you can pre-fund and actually make 2% instead of actually using your own cash and getting nothing. You use your own cash and actually make 2% of the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would argue with you, even though I have no basis for it, that the listening audience is using their debit cards to fund advertising and purchases. I'm sure they want the terms on that 30-day terms, and they think they're getting the best cash back with 1.5%, 2% cash back, or points with American Express that they could convert to cash. But it sounds like you've got the experience. I don't, folks. So don't listen to me. This is just me with no actual data. Send me texts and emails and whatnot, folks, telling me I'm right or telling me I'm wrong. Appreciate it. Okay, so really, your ultimate goal as CEO of ProfitPay is to educate entrepreneurs, e-commerce entrepreneurs, whatever kind of entrepreneur, but my audience. And then you can do almost everything that Stripe does, but your services are a little better. You're not charging that 1.5%. If people are using a Stripe card, you're giving 2% cash back on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me about international stuff, right? So a lot of the folks that we work with are now, starting to promote products in different countries, Germany, UK, Canada, so on and so forth. To me, in my simple-mindedness, I'm thinking, well, if they're spending money on Amazon, Google AdWords, and so on and so forth, they're just using their US corporate card for advertising overseas through these platforms. What's the drawback to that?
You pay cross-border fees and foreign exchange fees. So, if you've ever traveled and gone to a restaurant overseas and with your wife or husband, you'll notice that when you come home on your card statement, there'll be a cross-border fee, a foreign exchange fee first, right? So you get the foreign exchange fee because you did it in Europe, right? And you're from the US and you're using a US card to do that. So, right, that's how they get you. And then that guy says, hey, bank, it's your turn to charge a fee. And so now this bank, which has nothing to do with the transaction other than they're alive, basically takes the cross-border fee and adds on to the actual foreign exchange cost. So when you're buying locally, you don't have those costs; they'll go away, right?
So if somebody is in the US, has a US Amazon account, seller account, and they're going to set up, or they do set up one in Germany, they can't use the same US-based credit card. If they do, they're going to be charged international trade fees and things of that nature.
Of course, if you're buying locally in any market.
They're not buying. They're advertising. I guess that's buying, right?
If you're advertising in those geos, that geo typically is going to take that transaction. Amazon would rather take money in overseas than here in the United States because it costs, they make more money on that money, right? So, they're going to, so what you're going to see if you itemize out your bill is that anything you're paying for internationally or vice versa, international, now you're coming, US side, you're paying a handshake fee for that.
Monetize that for me. If I'm spending $1,000 a month on advertising and I use my Amex in Germany versus one of your virtual cards that's local to the market, how much am I saving on that $1,000 because of exchange fees and things of that nature?
$1,000, you're getting upwards of 1% on that money. Okay, you're getting back. Now, if you use that, you're getting 1% in cross-border. You're paying 1% plus whatever the foreign exchange fee is, and that just depends upon where exactly you're spending the money. But that foreign exchange fee plus the cross-border fee have at least 1 to 1.5%. Stripe charges 1.5% for cross-border fees. So
I feel like the exchange fee is a heck of a lot more than 1%. Am I misremembering?
I'm talking about cross-border fee, right? So cross-border is only 1/2 of it, right? So you're getting basically, there's two fees. One's foreign exchange, one's cross-border. Collectively together, they're upwards of $5 typically.
Wow.
Depending on the transaction amount, so
lots of little numbers here, folks, that add up to a big bottom line number, and then when you add a multiple to it when you exit your business, it's pretty damn valuable. You mentioned ghost accounts. What the heck is a ghost account?
So call it ghost account. So if you are a marketplace, right, you're creating a marketplace opportunity, or you just have an existing marketplace that you want to monetize. So if you're offering business tools inside of this marketplace, you need the ability to set all of these guys up with a payment processing account and access to do different things inside of the system without underwriting, okay? Without actually sitting every single person that goes through there and it's convoluted, complicated underwriting process that requires them to send in a bunch of information. And then, that's where you lose the customers. So here, what we do is we do an automated KYC process. They connect their bank account, and then they can add their payees through our system. But they also get a payment processing account. When I say ghost account, is under that marketplace. Let's say it's DoorDash. DoorDash is the marketplace. And I'm a Chinese restaurant store guy, right? I would be a terminal ID number. I would be a ghost account inside of the Dashlane account, right? Because they have to pay me. I sold the 100 buckets to Chow Mein, right? DoorDash's fee is 15%, so they're basically taking their 15%, paying out the terminal ID number, in this example, the Chinese restaurant store guy.
Now that I understand that, I don't think it actually has a direct correlation to what most of the people listening probably do. But
the Chinese restaurant store guy would take a card as a payment, right? So if you have a marketplace, you're creating cards. Again, the ghost account is also a supplier typically in this, right? Because he's supplying the goods, right? So if you think about it like that, it would be kind of relevant. Like because you can pay them with cards and create cash back on those transactions. So that Chinese restaurant store guy, when he takes that card on a daily basis, he's actually absorbing a fee for that, right?
Yeah, got it. Something else you mentioned just before we hit record was agencies. A lot of the folks that are listening either are agencies or use agencies, and people that are using agencies often don't provide the card to the agency.
Right.
Talk to me about the drawback of that, just in terms of educating the listener.
Well, the drawback is you don't really get to see, it's being charged in real time. So you can't understand when you say, hey, here's a wire for $100,000. Like, you got to itemize all the things in there. So this allows you to really get specific with UPC data and understand exactly where they're spending the money. And I think it also allows you to earn cash back on all that spend, because if the actual agency is controlling that card, they're making the money on that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. If you're an agency, this is a great way because you can continue to have merchants.
Great for an agency, terrible for the client spending all that money and getting no benefit.
Right, exactly. And they also don't really have insight. They're really relying upon the agency to understand what's happening in real time. And I feel like that's kind of the drawback. You as a business, you want to understand your metrics right away.
Okay. And so for anybody listening that is using agency services, make sure you're using your own card or they're using your card for payment of those transactions. Yeah. A lot of conversations I've had over the last few years, Chase, about cashback is that there seems to always be a limit. Now that's what credit card stacking was, based upon the folks that I talked about. They'll spend up to $150,000 on their Amex and then switch to another one and different cards so that they can get that $50,000 a month in cash back. Right. What are the limits, in terms of folks that are using your services in terms of cashback money?
There is no limit. So that's the benefit, right? The reason why you have your Chase rewards, Sapphire, whatever, unless you're spending $1 gazillion, they're going to limit you, right? So, if and they'll cap you at like 150 cash back or whatever, right? Whatever the terms of that card may be, but there is no limit here. So you can spend it on anything business related, really, and you can earn cash back on that in an unlimited way. So there is no caps. If you're spending $1 million a month, you can, there is no limit.
Okay. So it just occurred to me, what most people do, because they don't understand that cashback is simply a discount on advertising. The IRS hasn't figured out to tax it anyway, is they use a personal card. Like the kid I was talking to, I say kid, he's 30 years old. I'm 55. So I call everybody a kid now. That's awful. The very successful 8-figure entrepreneur that I was having a beer with around the fire pit, slid all of that money over to his personal account. These are all personal cards that he uses and then uses that $50,000 personally. In this case, with ProfitPay, people are signing up to use ProfitPay for their business. And then where does the cashback money go? Does it go to them personally, or does it go to the business bottom line bank account?
Whatever they want it to go to. So they can pay it out they can pay their cash back out to a card. They can pay it back out to an account. They can pay it out to them personally. For all intents and purposes, we don't actually care. So it's however they want that design.
Beautiful. Yeah. So there's plenty of freedom and flexibility there, which is great to hear. You mentioned the future of e-commerce when we chatted a few minutes prior to clicking record. Talk to me about your view of what the future of e-commerce is going to look like.
Well, the future of e-commerce is going to be all in your hand, really. So I think mobile is king. How people are going to use it, but I feel like everything's going to be a shape one way or another. Some part of a marketplace. If you're not the marketplace, you're a business inside of someone's marketplace. Like 70%, over 70% of the market is going to be that way, and that's not going to take too long for that to happen.
Can you give me a name of an example of marketplace? Are we talking about Amazon, eBay, that kind of stuff?
Amazon's a huge marketplace, right? One of the largest in the world.
Just want to clarify.
But there's marketplaces that exist inside of those marketplaces because it's so massive. You have people that are doing different things and servicing different people inside of those marketplaces. So marketplaces are created even within that ecosystem that Amazon's not even aware of, right? And that are just happening, right in front of them. So I think that's the future. Mobile, instant, and then eventually everything going to blockchain. I feel like blockchain's like, not to say like Tesla's a bad company. The car, it's all battery, right? We had a Tesla. Going back from Reno to California, having all battery, no gas, it's not cool, right? I feel like that's kind of where crypto is and blockchain. It's like, which right there, like people know about it, people are excited about it, but it's not mainstream yet, But eventually it will be, so like right now you have to use a combination of both, like both the battery and the gas.
He's smiling, folks, because he sees the puzzled look on my face. We really need to get Brad and Guthrie on here if you want to talk crypto. That's the bottom line. Mark might be amused with it as well, but not my area. I feel you on the battery versus gas or combination thereof. I had an all electric vehicle that never seemed. I always had range anxiety, always.
Dude, I mean, I have to go back and forth to California, so we realized real quick. We're like, oh, Tesla's so great, and then it's like, oh my God, there's only one supercharger station between Reno to the Bay Area. So unless you want to wait like 3 hours to get a charge, it's kind of
no thanks. So in terms of the future e-commerce for an e-commerce business owner that is selling a physical product on one of these third-party seller accounts, the key for them with ProfitPay is to really first understand your cost of services, which you're saying is lower than Stripe by a significant amount. The fact that they can get cashback money unlimited on all of their spending. And then the virtual cards that are created virtually for any of their manufacturers that are going to be providing products and taking money from them. What about for, a lot of the folks that I work with might have virtual assistants that for some reason or another might need access to a card. Can they get virtual cards too?
Yeah. So that's the beauty of that, is that you can assign users inside of the system, and you can just push a balance onto those cards for those people. So if they needed to go, Susie needed to go to get a headset from Fry's or something, because the headset's out, you can send her a $60 MasterCard, and she can go to the store and buy it, or she can get it online at Amazon.
Just electronically, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Virtually.
And then you get the cash back for that spend as well.
Correct.
You get cash back from. Okay, this is great. Any last thoughts, Chase, that you want to share with the audience that's full of e-commerce entrepreneurs?
I think that in today's age, it's all about speed, delivery, and offering things that are unique to the consumer experience that allow them to get more ingrained into the product. And I feel like we're on the cutting edge of all those things. So we're not afraid to try new things, and we're pretty bold. It's one of our core values as a company. So we're not afraid to get our ass kicked, but we're also not afraid to go to market and bring a great product to market that could be very useful for e-commerce entrepreneurs. So
I'm going to dip back into something then. You had mentioned something about chargebacks and the ability to expedite those instead of the typical 3 to 5 days and getting the customer pissed off.
Yeah.
Right? Or returns, not chargebacks, returns.
Yeah.
Taking 3 to 5 days. How would, if it's not a marketplace like Amazon and you're selling direct to consumer on your website, how can you benefit people that are trying to get their money back?
So Yeah, so these are general purpose cards. So the cool thing about these is they can come branded for your business, so you have that brand authority when you're sending out these cards. But more importantly, the biggest problem with issuing credit to a consumer today for a product or service that maybe they just weren't happy with for whatever reason is it takes 3 to 5 days to do traditional payment rails. Okay. Meanwhile, the customer is upset. They might be writing a bad review about you because they think that you're not giving them the money, even though you're following the total procedure. So this allows and there's also a cost associated with issuing that credit or refund or distribution to that client. It costs you 25 to 50 cents or more, depending upon your credit card program. Regardless, here, customer service rep, hey ma'am, I understand your problem. Hey, check, I just sent you a link to your cell phone. Please click that link to claim your card. They can claim the card. They can get a physical card if they want. Hey, I want a card in my house. And I want that known. And so basically it's all federal, it's packaged up, it's, done all tracked, they get the tracking number, or we can issue a credit to a virtual card that they can actually use inside of their wallet or online and spend that money. The cool thing about that is you're solving a real problem, which doesn't exist, which there's no solution for today, right? In the market. So this actually solves a real problem for your business, but also turns that line item, that cost of that 25 to 50 cents to 1% into an actual profitable line item for your business. So you're solving problems, eliminating customer confusion and bad relationship, and you're actually making money on that transaction. By the way, breakage, also a big deal, right? So let's say that I issue you a $25 card, right? Now if you're a consumer and you get that $25 card, you spend $24.39, that 72, whatever that changes, they're not utilizing, they're typically not going to go to the store and use that card. So after whatever terms you put around that, you essentially get breakage factor. So every quarter or 6 months or whatever, you're actually getting breakage back on that spend, as long as your terms and conditions are clearly defined.
Very cool. Very cool. Chase, how do people learn more about your company? Where should they go to find you and find out about ProfitPay?
Sure. LinkedIn, apparently it says Chase H, but I'm Chase Farmer. And you can find me on LinkedIn. My email is chase@profitpay.io. And you can speak to us or investor relations team at 855-247-3411.
And it's profitpay.io is the URL as well. Okay.
Right.
I'll put those in the show links, folks. Chase, thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Bye.